Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man's Corner channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm going to be reading two Bigfoot encounters out of the They Saw Sasquatch book. And the first one takes place in late spring of 2015 over at the Applegate Valley. And I already looked through the pages. They're short, so it ain't going to be like taking 4 or 5 pages long. So anyway, I'm not going to tell you exactly where I was at when I experienced the fright of my life. I'm a mushroom hunter, and I don't want to share my hunting grounds. This is how I supplement my husband's Social Security income. I've been doing this for 5 years now. It was probably more than 5 years, but anyway. Ever since I was laid off from a job I had held for over 20 years, I sell my shrooms to local restaurants and small grocery stores. I was out gathering morels at late spring is the time to find them. I hunt alone. My husband is partially disabled and waits in the truck for me. As it was reaching noontime, I was having success filling my mesh bags, so I stopped in a nice sunny spot for lunch. As I was eating my sandwich and apple and enjoying the beautiful mountains around me, I started to smell a most horrible odor. I have a very good sense of smell, which makes me an excellent mushroom hunter, and this stench was just sickening. I thought it was odd that I haven't noticed the smell when I first sat down, and suddenly the hairs on the back of my neck were standing, and I got that tingling sensation you get when you've just listened to a frightening story. I quickly jumped to my feet, reaching in my pocket for my pepper spray. I'm a crack shot with a rifle, but it's too heavy to carry. As I turned, I came face to face with the ugliest man I've ever seen. He was so hairy and seemed to be covered with dark red hair. Lady, I hate to tell you this, but that ain't no man. That's a Bigfoot. He looked old and grizzled, and his face was very wrinkled and kind of smashed in. What are you talking about, like almost flat, like a pancake face, or what? And the nose kind of flat? That's what I'm picturing here, folks. It was then that I realized he wasn't wearing any clothes, but was covered with hair. I covered my mouth to stop myself from screaming as he reached toward me and grabbed my bags of mushrooms. I turned and ran, leaving my pack behind me. And as I got about 100 yards away, I looked over my shoulder and saw this creature was going the other way with my mushroom bags in one huge hand. He must really have the munchies for mushrooms. But anyway, I know this story sounds crazy, and no, I haven't been picking and sampling the wrong kind of mushrooms, but it did happen. I will swear to that. For the rest of the season, I didn't go back to that location and have found new hunting grounds. I don't think I will go back there ever again. Well, they probably moved on to another location, or that Bigfoot did. But anyway, this was in like the southern Oregon area. The name that wrote the story is Liz N. Thank you, Liz, for submitting that. I believe you. You're like, nah, he was just hungry. I don't think he was going to attack you. But anyway, the next encounter I'm going to read out of this book takes place in 1964 in Leland, Oregon. Just thought I'd give you a little picture of what timeline we're going to be reading about. I'm going to tell you about a scary encounter I had when I was 18 years old. My brother Dean and I worked summers for several area loggers in the Cave Junction area. I was choke setting one day and a cable caught me and flipped me against a snag, and I got a deep gash in my thigh. Yeah, I know that had to hurt. It wasn't serious, but bad enough that I couldn't do heavy work for 3 weeks. The foreman kept me on, and I spent the days running the pickup back and forth to the hill, town, and the clear cut. One day, I was heading to the shop to drop off a chainsaw for repair when I slowed down on a muddy corner on the logging road, and suddenly I saw just a glimpse out the driver's window before something smashed into the truck door so hard the truck tipped up on two wheels and crashed into the steep dirt bank. The pickup scraped the bank and spun to the left and stalled in the center of the road. The driver's door was jammed, so I slid over and managed to get the passenger door open and got out to see what hit me. My head had a large bump growing by the minute, and there in the road was a huge boulder about 4 feet across. Whew. That tells you no average man can lift that. I tried to figure how that huge rock came loose. I saw movement up the hill, and in my fog, I thought it was one of our loggers. But realizing that our crew was over a mile away, I got up in the truck bed to see over the brush, and there was a giant furry beast that I first thought was a large bear standing upright. But then it turned and disappeared behind a tree, and I watched it as it ran up the slope on 2 legs. It looked back at me a couple of times, and once as I yelled at it, it shook my fist. It stopped, stooped over, and it picked up what looked like a large tree limb and threw it toward me. Yeah, you wouldn't be hollering at these creatures. You don't know what they'll do. Then it raised its fist and shook it, and then it disappeared. Well, the pickup ended up with a bent frame, and it took a bulldozer to remove the rock. Incidentally, the rock turned out to have been dislodged from a hole that indicated it was at least 2 feet in the ground, with moss on it showing it was not part of any loose earth. My crew got quite a laugh at my expense until our foreman and the owner of the company, along with the insurance adjuster, began to believe my story when they found several large footprints where some big creature had pushed against the boulder on the hill above. When I recovered from my wounds, I took a job on the green chain at the mill. I had no desire for a rematch. Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. Good lordy. And like I said, do not do any gestures like that or something, because then they'll take that as a sign of attack. And that's why he retaliated and threw something at you. But the guy that submitted this story was Chuck Campbell. He's from Stellacombe, Washington. Those are some good encounters, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, if you're out in the woods either picking mushrooms or you're working in a logging camp, be careful, because you don't know when these things will be roaming around and they might do something to you. You never know. Anyway, that's going to be it for now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. And this has been another successful installment of Tin Man's Corner channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey the Tin Man Taylor. And I say that's a wrap. And have a nice day, everybody.